So the technology that I'm going to discuss today is called Ziplet. So we have the positive effects of Ziplet in the classroom. I heard this before as well, and thought to myself, "What in the world is that?" It sounds kind of humorous when you think about it, but when I checked it out a little more, I am someone who, when it comes to technology, I want something simple. I don't want the learning curve for me to have to be so complicated to the point where I spend more time trying to figure it out than actually executing it. And this could not be any simpler for both teachers and for students. Basically, Ziplet is a way to get instant feedback from your students in a variety of topics, and for you as the teacher to respond or give feedback. I think in the world of education right now, it is so important that we have open dialogue with our kids. And sometimes throughout the school day, we don't always get an opportunity to reflect with them, or reflect on their learning after they've finished a lesson for that matter. So, and kids don't often get an opportunity to reflect on their own learning or share their own feedback about what they've done in the classroom or what's going on in school or their daily lives. And this makes it pretty fun and easy for us as educators and students to be able to have that open dialogue in a safe space. So let's get started here with Ziplet. The positive effects of this. So the number one thing that I found with this was that communication is expanded even more. Um, when I was working in my previous school district in the city, communication was really difficult in a lot of aspects, especially with parents, and even with kids. Because once the kids left, I mean, there wasn't much in the way of communicating with them easily if it wasn't in the school day. And even during the school day, kids are out; they're doing other things, and so the communication bridge, I feel like, really helped with Ziplet. So I know sometimes we don't have time to always check in with them about, did you understand the content, aside from doing regular assessments. When we take state exams and other standardized tests, we have to wait a while to get the results back, or we have to plan additional time to be set aside to go over their results with individual students if we're lucky to have that much time, or to go over it as a whole group. Um, we do a lot of it within our own teacher groups within our content areas, but there's not much time when I think about my day throughout any school year I've had so far where I've been able to really carve out time to sit and reflect with my kids on their personal assessment scores for whatever assessment it is that we're taking. So teachers and students can communicate in a format that's really easy. It gives you instant feedback, and it's not just academic based. And right now in our world, with COVID still on the horizons, and mental health being a big topic in education right now, and social emotional learning, this also gives us topics to push out to our students so that we can reflect with them on how they're doing emotionally as well. So really, communication bumps up a whole level with Ziplet. The other thing that this does is I found that it increases participation. Given the format that Ziplet comes in, um, kids are able to really express their opinions and their thoughts on topics that interest them. If you're doing it for, like, for example, for a morning meeting or for the beginning of the year activities or end of the year activities, it's fun for them. And it also gives them a chance to give feedback. And we can give feedback again that hopefully will positively impact your classroom environment. So we all know that as teachers, if our kids are having positive experiences within the classroom, they are more willing and more likely to take risks in terms of participation and being engaged in the activities that they are asked to participate in. If you're doing this for social emotional learning or for morning meeting check-ins, it helps with their self-expression, especially those kids who are maybe more shy and don't like to speak outwardly, but still want to be heard in some way. This gives them a safe space to still express their feedback to you. And they can do it anonymously too, which is really cool. And some kids prefer to have their name, plastered all over, and that's fine too. But it gives us as teachers a chance to chat with them and provide feedback when they are giving their input and their voices. On the next slide here, strengthening relationships. All of these things go hand in hand. Communication, participation, positive community within your classroom builds relationships. And I'm going to tell you from experience, being in the city with working in one of the poor schools in my area, the biggest number one thing was building relationships with those kids. If I didn't have a relationship with them, um, it was really, really difficult to get those kids to buy into things, to participate, to engage, to take risks. And so this is a way to help with that relationship building, because there are questions within the SEL topics and self-expression topics that allow for relationships to build. It allows for kids to feel free to express their feelings, express their opinions and thoughts in a very less intimidating way, as opposed to communicating personally. We all are a little bit more shy and reserved when we first meet people, but once you feel more comfortable with them and you have things in common, or you start to feel like you're important and being heard, you're more likely to open up. And I think that goes the same for our classrooms. If kids are comfortable, they are strengthening their trust with you and with their peers. It builds our community, especially our classroom community. And the better your classroom community is and the better your relationships are, the better academic success you're going to have as well. And it continues to create that positive class culture. So relationship building is another huge strength of Ziplet that I found. It also builds bridges for learning. So this is not, like I said, this is not just for social and emotional learning. This is also for assessing. A lot of times teachers like to do exit tickets or bell ringers at the beginning and end of lessons. You can also use this as a means of formative assessing. And what's really great about this is it gives you results right away. And it actually puts it into a nice bar graph or a word cloud that allows you to see the class as a whole and see where your gaps in learning are. It puts that student data together for you, so that you can maybe go back and reteach something. You can create small groups off of it. You can increase collaboration and engagement, and really figure out who needs more support with their learning. It allows me to be able to differentiate in a way that I felt was kind of missing, or maybe wasn't as strong before using this. And I can even respond to individual students' feedback right away too, and we can have that open dialogue as well. So definitely being able to assess learning and figure out where additional help is needed is a huge plus for Ziplet as well. This is backed by research. It is a company that's based out of Australia, and they have done research, and it shows that through their research that they have conducted, that reflecting on and checking in with students increases engagement. It increases motivation. It increases the students' overall well-being. And when students are good and feeling okay, we know that they perform better in school. So Ziplet has a model really that they like to use. It's called the logic model, and it's the learning science behind how teachers, students, and leaders benefit from this particular program. So typically, what happens before we use Ziplet? We plan, we create lessons, we identify where they need feedback, we plan questions to gather insight, and we create a safe environment for students to provide authentic feedback. So how then do we use Ziplet? So we can ask timely questions. It allows us to schedule times when you see the questions, and I'll show you that in just a moment. We review our responses, we gather the data, and we can look at individual students, or we can look at our whole class and figure out where the gaps in learning are, and we can make changes based on that information. We can support individual students better, we can support our class as a whole, and we can quickly and efficiently identify students who are struggling along the way. The individual feedback forms part of like a formative assessment, almost evaluation framework in a sense with kids too. And the outcomes of this, what actually changes, we have more responsive kids. We become, as teachers, more responsive to their needs. we improve as teachers, we figure out where those gaps are, and we help to fulfill them. And it improves our data literacy. We are constantly inundated with data. And this is just one more simple, much simpler way I felt as I was using this, of looking at my kids' data. The next thing, it supports our district's vision. Our district's vision is to educate the whole child. We are constantly looking to embrace differences and diversity, encourage people to be good citizens and good digital citizens, and take ownership of their work, their learning, evaluate themselves, and provide a safe space for our kids. And this does all of those things. We are checking in with kids' mental health, emotional well-being. We are checking in with them academically through the options that Ziplet offers. We are encouraging them to utilize the feedback portion in a way that's productive. So we are encouraging that digital citizenship and that self-evaluation piece, where kids are looking at their own learning and determining where they need to improve or how they can do something different. So it allows them to take ownership of their learning. And it's easy. That's the other part I want to continue to keep stressing, is this is super easy for us to use as teachers and students. It offers tech support. So not only are you going to see how simple it is, but if there are parts that you have concerns about, or you are struggling with any of the features that are on here, Ziplet offers a help center on their website that you can type in topics and obviously search for whatever it is that you need help with. They offer professional development opportunities, and they have like an FAQ section where you can click on some of the most commonly asked questions to help you navigate your way through those concerns. There are there's also an option where you can submit an actual request, which I thought was really cool. It's called a support request, and you put your email address in, you put the subject, and you type in what your concern is. And there's an option for you to add a file. So if you want to take a screenshot of whatever it is that you're struggling with, so you can give them something to work off of, you have the option to do that too. And I thought that was a really cool piece as well. So anything that you're struggling with, you have the support of people in Ziplet to help walk you through some of those concerns. The other three things that are awesome, this really is good for all age groups. Kindergartners can use this because teachers have the option to add an image for kids to respond to. So as we know, most kindergartners aren't 100% reading yet. And so that doesn't mean that kids can't respond. They have, if I want a child but my classes to look at an image and tell me what they think, or tell me how that image makes them feel, there's an option for them to respond with what we consider emojis, or with like a face that gives them something to respond to. So they don't have to actually type anything in, which I thought was really cool. And you can have this tailored, you could tailor it all the way up to seniors in high school too. And everything in between. If it works with the kindergartners and works with seniors, it can work with all of the age groups in between that. They can benefit from it. Equitable access. Everybody, since we are in this district, we are one-to-one. Everyone would have access to this. It is simple to use. They do have a mobile app. So even if they couldn't access it or needed to, quickly respond to something, they have the app that is free, and you can log in there and you can respond there just the same as you would on the web version. And there's multiple modes of responding too. So it can help to remove some of those language barriers and writing barriers for kids that maybe aren't great writers, or, most people can understand what a frowny face and a happy face means. And so it has that option there too, with kids who are English language learners and coming to, our country, maybe who aren't fluent with the language. The big question then is cost, right? We all want to make sure that we are able to get things that are cost effective for not only us, but for our district. This is free at the base level. And I've actually found a lot of great things to use with this on the free version. There are some limitations though. You don't get quite as many questions in their bank of questions to access. And there are some features in it that you aren't able to do with the free version. And a subscription is actually not that expensive. If you want a subscription and pay per month, it's $4.99 per month, or you can opt to do $44.99 per year. It's cost effective for all these different devices as well: iPhones, iPads, iPod Touches, Macs, and Macs with Apple M1 chip or later. All of those devices are compatible with the app and with Ziplet. So, with all of that, my personal experience as an educator with this in closing, it has been so awesome to see my kids, especially my shy ones, really come out of their shells and open up to me about things that I honestly, up until using this, had no clue about my kids. And I feel like I've got pretty good relationships with my kids, and I feel like we have a very good family oriented atmosphere in my classroom. And this just further shows me that, I've got kids that really thrive off of this format of opening up as opposed to one-on-one or verbally with me, because they're just not comfortable, and that's okay. And I think we need to meet kids where they are. And this is a great opportunity for us to meet those kids and all kids where they're at, provide safe spaces for them to share, assess them quickly and give them feedback quickly, and do something with that data quickly instead of having to wait maybe weeks or months until we actually see the the data, the information that we're looking for. It provides us with academic performance through Q&A types of forums, and it has given me and my students a way to communicate that is much more efficient. My kids love it. They look forward to it. I use it mostly in my morning meetings as a question of the day. And I've put it into a QR code, so all they have to do is scan the QR code and it pops up right away. It's been awesome. I love it. And I just want to show you really quickly a couple of things here, so that you can actually see what it looks like in terms of for the teacher, for us to set this up. There are my references for those who are interested in seeing, especially some of the research-based stuff that Ziplet has done.